All right. It sounds like I'm doing a podcast. I'm absolutely not. Sarah, my good friend and fellow Wild Collective facilitator, I asked if you would have a conversation with me because I think there are a lot of clinicians who have some questions about what it is that we are doing with respect to group health and using the Wild Collective. And I think it makes a big difference to hear from someone who's not me, that has really turned this into something very special in their own respective communities. So if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and all those particulars, and then we'll get into the Wild Collective and what amazing things you've created in Ottawa.
Sure. So I just want to clarify that I invited myself to share this message.
It's true, you did.
Because every time I finish a Wild Collective, I send Michelle a voice note or a text being like, holy shit, this is amazing. And it never ceases to be amazing. So I offer to be here because true. I want to share the magic of the Wild Collective with as many practitioners as possible. So I'm a naturopathic doctor. I've been in practice in Ottawa now for over 10 years. And in January of 2020, I launched my first Wild Collective. And I launched it because I knew there was a better way to work with the women that are in my practice. Even though I have a very successful, good one-on-one practice and people are very happy with what they're getting, I think similar to you, I just started to feel like there was something missing and there was something that could be done in a more efficient and just more meaningful way. So I launched my first collective 2 months before the pandemic. And so I had to do a very quick pivot into an online space, which actually has been, we can talk about that. If you're worried at all about creating connection in an online space, I want you to not let that be a deterrent, because it has been mind-blowing the way that we are able to have women connect through Zoom because of the way that this program is set up. It really helps women feel connected very quickly, even though we're doing it on Zoom. So I think within a few months, because I'm thinking back to a conversation you and I had last spring, so spring of 2020, and I was like, I'm ready to blow up my practice. I'm ready to quit one-on-one. I'm all in on Wild Collective. I was 3 months in and I was like, I'm sold. This is amazing. And now I've just wrapped up last week my 4th group, and I'm more sold than ever on this model. And it is because it is so much more efficient for you, the practitioner, but also for the patients, because you're able in 2 hours, you're able to cover in such depth on topics that you will probably never be able to talk about in your one-on-one practice. Even if you have half an hour or 60 minutes, you're not going to get the level of conversation that I've seen arise in this community, because again of the way that it's set up really encourages openness and vulnerability and sharing. But also when you put women together and they realize that they are all dealing with the same things, they start to open up in a whole different way, and you learn things about your patients that even if they've been patients for years, you probably never would have heard in your office. So as soon as I started seeing that, and I started seeing the transformation that these women were having, and all of my Wild Collective people they were my patients one-on-one before. And they've learned more than they ever would in my office one-on-one, but they've also been able to take their health to a completely different level through the Wild Collective than they are in my office, even though, I'm a great ND, I'm getting good results one-on-one, but there are certain things that are just so much better done in a group. And so that's why I'm here singing the gospel of the Wild Collective, because it really just has been so transformative for the women who participate. And I haven't even talked about the transformation that it has been for me. And that's something I say all the time. I was not at all prepared for the journey that I was going to embark on facilitating the Wild Collective. It's made me a better ND. It's made me more confident in how I express myself. It's allowed me to share parts of myself that I never thought I would share with my patients, which has just, it's created a level of healing for me that I haven't experienced ever before. And it's also just allowed a connection with my patients that, again, was very difficult to have in one-on-one practice, even when we're taking, the time to get to know them. So that's in a nutshell why it's so amazing. I don't even remember what the question was.
You did such a good job. I'm so grateful for you. And I think you're someone to learn from, because right from the start, you were totally committed. You totally leaned into the experience, and you really directed your energy and effort towards leadership and, helping really disrupt a model that is in need of great disruption. And you trusted that. I knew you were already in it because you were reading the same literature I was about group health. You were equally excited. So I knew that part was going to go well. But what I was just most impressed by was the way you chose to lead and trust the process. And I think that's the evidence, is how you've been able to grow this and fall in love with it the way that you have, is because of how you dedicated your energy towards the process of it. So, you could have easily created your own group program. In fact, you have afterwards. So we'll talk about that as well, about how you've made this unique and your own. But what was it like? Why did you choose to take an existing group health model versus creating your own when you had such a strong brand and voice before that?
Because I'm smart, and because I know how long it takes to make a program. Like, if anyone, and I've done this, I talked about making a program. I talked about it for 5 years before I actually created any type of program. And so it was a no-brainer that this program touched on all the topics that are foundational and super important for women's health. And it was literally done for me. I didn't have to make anything. I just had to learn the content, which took me about one collective. The first time I ran a collective, I obviously had to spend some time preparing and review the material. Now I literally just roll in 5 minutes before, because I know the material. All I have to do is come up with a story, right? So it was a no-brainer that it was done for me. It's such a high quality program, and you keep making it better with your updates. So it was purely a strategic thing. I can make my own program and launch it in probably 3 to 5 years, and sure, it'll have my logo and my name on it. Or I can buy this done for me program and launch it in 2 months. And that's what I did. I remember I approached you at a conference in October, and I was like, I'm launching in January. And I did. And I sold out my first collective in January, 2 months later. So you can think about making a program, and maybe you still will want to do that to support. And again, that's what I've done. I've created other programs that feed into the Wild Collective since then. But that just making programs, I'm revamping one right now. It's so much work. Just save yourself the time and energy and buy this amazing done for you program that creates kind of the template and the foundation, but you can inject your own personality into it, right? So for me, that was a perfect blend, that it was done, but I could put my own voice and spin on it while still kind of maintaining the integrity of it.
Do you feel like, yes, that it stifled your own growth, your own voice, your own branding in any way?
No, it accelerated it, because it helped me to see what a group model was like and how powerful it was, which then lit the fire under my ass to make another program. So it was we need group programs. I know if I had done it on my own, it would not be anywhere near where I am right now in terms of how many groups I've run and how this has just been so seamless to bring into my practice.
Yeah. And just a highlight for those who are listening to you say this, you launched the Wild Collective first, and now you've created your own group program and probably many in the future to come.
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't limit your growth. It actually, to me, again, it accelerates it. And it's also a great way to just have a different offering for your patients. One-on-one is great, but it's not always possible. I know I'm not like great at retention. I'm great at seeing people for maybe 3 appointments, and then most of them fly away because of life and other things. So this was such a great way to bring my patients back into the fold. I'm seeing them now on a regular basis. And again, they're getting way better results than they ever were with just one-on-one. And I think if you can blend one-on-one and group, that's like next level transformation for people.
I love that. What has been your biggest learning lesson with Wild Collective, if you haven't already said it? If you have another.
Oh, the power of like storytelling and vulnerability. So yeah, I've just in like, and I'm getting emotional just even like talking and thinking about it, but the level of healing that's happened for me and that's happened for the women in my groups from the power of sharing my own stories and being really vulnerable about what I've gone through and what's going on in my life, like the create the space that created for other women to share has been like life-changing. And so that's been the biggest thing for me.
I think the really excited thing is you've been a real leader in that respect. Like, you've been someone who's the power of telling your story in the body piece. And a really cool part of, the evolution of the Wild Collective is that we're going to get to, pick the brain. The facilitators are doing really powerful things. And just like I did this to Jordan, I'm doing this to you. You will be someone we interview so that we can like do a deep dive in understanding how you're doing that, so that other people can start to lean into that process, because it is your natural superpower, and it is why you're seeing the consistent transformations that you were seeing, and it's why it's like grown you into like this really strong leader and doctor and community member. Like, it's just been so beautiful to watch someone like you do that. And I think the advantage is that people are going to have access to those kind of conversations where we get to learn from leaders like yourself to be like, okay, this is how Sarah's doing it. This is how she's getting the results. This is how she's getting people to sign up in the word of mouth, because yours have really spread like wildfire. And I feel like your launches have been very smooth and easy, which is, me looking on the outside in, but like very impressive in terms of what you've been able to create in a very short period of time. So on that, how has group health or the Wild Collective made you a more efficient practitioner?
It's allowed me to make the same amount, if not more income, by working less, number one. So that's a huge value for me. So because I typically have between 15 and 20 women in my collective, and they're each paying $500 to $600. So in my 2-hour collective, I'm billing $1,000, right? So unless you're charging $500 an hour in your clinic, which most of us are not, you're going to be working several hours. So it's more efficient for me in terms of my work schedule. I've been able to really reduce my clinic hours and again, make the same, actually more money than I was before. But it's also just such an efficient way to communicate health information. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to talk about drinking water in appointments anymore, right? Like, don't pay me $300 an hour. And like my 10 years of experience at this point, those are not the conversations I want to be having in my one-on-one practice. So the Wild Collective is a beautiful way to disseminate good quality health information that everyone needs access to, but you're telling it to 15 people or 20 women at a time, as opposed to telling 20 women in a one-on-one appointment that they need to go to bed on time and how they need to be pooping. So it's just a much more efficient way to disseminate that critical information so that when they come back on your one-on-one, the conversation is a completely different conversation because they've gained all of that base knowledge in the Wild Collective. And now they're ready to deal with like the good, interesting stuff that I think most of us actually want to be talking about in our practice.
100%. That's been my favorite part as well. Very efficient that way.
Yes.
Okay, so very last question. Advice for those practitioners who are considering the Wild Collective as their group health model.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to take out my mic. so that everyone can hear me in the back. This is the best money you're ever gonna spend in your practice.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Just if you are thinking about it, number one, it's a sign you probably just need to do it. That's how it started for me. Michelle and I had a conversation and I was like, that sounds amazing. And then I saw her speak on stage and I was like, I beelined it for her. And I'm like, we're doing this. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going for it. So if you are considering this, again, it is such a worthy investment that you are likely going to pay off in your first collective or so. So it is an investment in your business, but like most good things, when you invest in yourself and in your practice, in my experience, that's when my practice always grows, is when I invest in myself. So it's such a worthwhile investment. And just beyond the financial piece, again, the level of transformation that you are going to see possible in these groups with the patients that you work with is worth the investment. And this is such a beautiful kind of long-term strategy that you can build into your practice. So it's a wonderful way to support if you've got like a really busy clinical practice and people are having to wait to come in. This is a great place to put those people where, again, you're giving them transformative health. If you're like me and you want to reduce your one-on-one hours because you find that really tiring, Wild Collective is a wonderful way to support that. So I just encourage anyone who's thinking about it, just take the leap. It is absolutely worth it. It has been by far the best investment that I've made in my business. And it's been a great, like, it's grown my business financially, but that's not even the best part. Like, the best part is literally the transformation. And just like, I don't even look at those evening sessions as work anymore. I'm like, ooh, I get to go hang out with my friends and like chat about health and tell stories. So it's such a beautiful way to spend your time, and you get paid very well to do it. So for me, it's like, it's a no-brainer. Just do it.
Well, I appreciate your time, your willingness to ask me to share and put you in front of the people, because I really value you. You're someone who I just love talking about group health, how to make this better, how to scale this, how to make a bigger impact, how we can literally change the narrative for women, how we can create a supportive, nurturing environment. I think you're a total leader in this. I'm so excited for where you're going. And, you know, I just think this is the launch pad for what's to come for you. And so I think it's just so incredibly exciting that there is this kind of level of collaboration, even interprofessionally, where we're supporting each other through these growth edges as we evolve as practitioners and as we redefine what it is to be a naturopathic doctor or clinician, what those models can look like. And so it's such a beautiful opportunity because we get to be around incredible high vibration women like yourself. So I appreciate you. I think you're doing incredible work in this world. I think your Wild Collectives are so lucky to have you as their facilitator. And I feel incredibly blessed that we've linked arms, because I just love talking to you about this stuff and appreciate and value you and your time. So thank you.
Thank you. The last thing I'll say is also that women need this right now. Like, especially, I think the pandemic highlighted how much community and connection are of vital, vital importance. And so there's never been a better time to launch a group program and a community initiative, because people are literally like dying for this type of stuff. So just wanted to add that in, that it's just, we need this so badly now more than ever.
We do. And we need your leadership. We need that type of vulnerable, enthusiastic leadership, because on to your point, we've never needed this more than ever. And we need to hold space in the audacious vision for them, because a lot of women are feeling numb right now and they need us to put our effort towards leadership. So they're like, okay, I will choose to put my resources to this versus the bottle of wine because it's no longer serving me, or whatever it is that they're spending their money on, trying to make themselves feel better when there's a way more efficient, transformative way for them.
Yeah. And also, like, this is kind of how I positioned it. And this was the feedback I got. Like, let's put something exciting in the calendar again. Like, yes, now we're able to start doing stuff, but who knows how long that will last. Like, giving women this like beautiful 2-hour session, whether you do it weekly or monthly, that they're like, they get to come together. And so many of the women in my collective comment on that. They're like, we love these sessions. Like, no matter how we feel coming in, we always leave at the end of the 2 hours feeling elevated and connected and grateful and just like so good. And that for me is like the best thing that I think we can offer, is just this like beautiful place for connection and community. And just a great place for women to come hang out. And like, again, I transform, like literally transform their health.
Love it. Group health done right.
Yes.
We'll leave it at that.
Get in on the
Dr. Sarah Vadeboncoeur, thank you so much for your wisdom and insight and your leadership. I value you very, very much. So thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.